Hey guys, how are ya? It's Dr. Dawn. I'm coming here on live on my Dr. Dawn page, and I again was trying to get on my Instagram page at the same time. I do it yesterday, couldn't do it today. We're not gonna worry about it because we got things to do. So again, this is Dr. Dawn, Chicago's on board certified OBGYN, coming to you today on day three, already day three, yay, of the mini course challenge for the Clever Girls. I put this challenge together to help my moms and aunts and dads and anybody who's interested in learning on how to take care of our girls and help them to learn about themselves. That's kind of why I put this together. So what you'll see now is how to join my Clever Girl group, because in that group we give away the homework and everything that I'm going to be talking about. We're going to be discussing from this sheet. So either you can sign up for it or you can join my Clever Girl crew on Facebook Live. I believe I have that changed to the Courageous Clever Girl Creators, because we're creating girls that are clever and ready for the world. So again, we're going to get started. Dr. Dawn here, Chicago's own board certified OBGYN. My mission is to empower women of all ages with pertinent medical information and proactive reproductive health knowledge so that you can optimize your physical and mental health. That is why I am here. And I am recently really interested in taking care of our teen girls. I am interested, or I'm a part of a organization called Pretty Girls. And in that organization, I will talk to the girls in sixth, seventh, eighth, sometimes even high school, talk to them about things they should know about their body. And so this is kind of what I like to do. I have a book that I wrote 3 years ago. You can get that on my website. And in that book, I really am just giving tips and things young girls should know about their bodies, about puberty, about the menstrual cycle, and everything that comes outside of that. I also have a focus on helping our girls be confident in themselves and having body positivity, because I think we have a lot that goes against our girls feeling good about themselves. So we're going to help them do that, right? So if you are on board with me, let me know. Just drop your name or say hi in the chat. If you have any questions about what we're going through, be sure to also drop that in the chat, and I will go through that. And usually what I'll do is I'll go in the Clever Girl crew, or the Courageous Clever Girl Creator crew. And if you don't feel comfortable giving me questions right now live, then we can go in the group and you can ask me there. That's not a problem. So we're going to talk about day three. Yay! Day three. The title of the day three is How Does the Menstrual Cycle Work, right? The menstrual cycle is really what kicks everything off. That helps you to know that you have gone through puberty and you're starting and becoming a young woman. And so the menstrual cycle is really important for us to understand what's happening, why it's happening, because that helps you to know when you're able to get pregnant and specifically the days. So in my packet, I have several pictures, but I think the most important picture is the one here, and I'll show it to you. And again, to get it, just join that group. It's in there, or you can sign up at the Dr. Dawn 5-day course, and I'll be sending this out to you every day. So in this course, you see on this form I have at the top, it's called the menstrual cycle. And the menstrual cycle is basically what happens when the body is giving signals, and it really is promoting the uterus and the ovaries and everything to get ready to release that egg and get that uterus ready to receive the egg that's been fertilized, so that the woman can be able to carry a pregnancy to term. For term would be 40 weeks, typically, give or take. 37th week is what we officially call full term. So each month, a woman's body goes through different changes to get it ready for a possible pregnancy. This series of events is called the menstrual cycle. During the menstrual cycle, which is a 28-day cycle, but we kind of section it off in different things, and I'll tell you what those sections are. But during the menstrual cycle, the egg develops and is released from the ovaries, and we talked in our first class about the structures of the female anatomy, so we know that the ovaries are sitting right there next to the uterus. So, in the lining of the uterus is also building up during this time. If a pregnancy does not happen, the uterine lining sheds during the actual menstrual period. And then this whole cycle starts again. So, as you can see here, we talk about the menstrual phase, the follicular phase, the ovulation phase, and the luteal phase. The main two that you're going to look to and how we split everything up, the follicular phase and the luteal phase. And they kind of tell you what phase you're in by what the ovary is doing. So we'll start it off with the menstrual phase. And the menstrual phase is really day one of your cycle. So your day one of your bleed is day one of your menstrual cycle, and it's the first day of the follicular phase, right? So this is what happens when that egg has gone through the fallopian tube, has not been fertilized. So because your body is sensitive to different hormones, it can tell if you've been fertilized because you give off different hormones when you're pregnant as opposed to when you're not. So when you're pregnant, the main hormone that you're really going to give off is beta HCG, beta human gonadotropic hormone, and that is the pregnancy hormone. So as soon as you get pregnant, that little entity starts giving off beta HCG, and so your body responds in a way that helps it to maintain that uterine lining. But we're jumping ahead. So if the thickened lining is not needed because you're not period, it sheds through the vagina. And we also know during this time, your period, which is really that lining that's shedding through, you may notice certain things in your body. You may have cramping, tender breasts, you have bloating. Some women have mood swings when they're a little more irritable. You may have headaches, low back pain. All that is occurring in the menstrual phase of the follicular phase. So again, we look here, you got your follicular phase. The beginning of that phase is the menstrual cycle. Day one of the follicular phase is day one of your menstrual cycle, right? So during this time, the hypothalamus is sending a signal to your pituitary. All these things are either in the brain or right behind the brain. And it's sending it a hormone called FSH, which is follicle stimulating hormone. And this hormone basically does exactly what we just said, right? So it stimulates the ovaries. And in those ovaries, you have follicles. Each follicle is carrying an egg. So it's helping those follicles to mature to get that egg ready. You have tons of follicles in your ovary. So you may have 5, 8 follicles that are all racing to try to be the one mature one. And they're all responding to this follicle stimulating hormone that's being released from your pituitary and your hypothalamus. Now, those actual follicles themselves, they make estrogen, right? And so the estrogen helps also develop those follicles. And so the follicle that has the ability to gain more estrogen can grow quicker. And then that is the follicle that is released. So you got 5 to 8 follicles all racing to be mature, but only one is going to be mature and get enough estrogen so that it matures and is ruptured from that follicle and then is released, like we said, from the ovary into the fallopian tube and goes down that uterus. And we saw that when we were in day one of our course when we talked about the anatomy, right? So healthiest egg will mature, and then that egg is released, and then the remaining follicles are just resorbed. That ovary kind of resorbs all that extra follicles, and it just goes into the stroma of the ovary, right? So we talked about those follicles kicking off the estrogen, and the actual follicles resorb that estrogen, but actually the uterine lining is very responsive to that estrogen too. So that estrogen that is created by those follicles helps this lining to thicken, right? And that lining we know is thickening because it's getting ready for a potential egg that has been fertilized by the sperm to implant in it, right? So that is the follicular phase. At the end of the follicular phase is where we have that egg that's going to ovulate from that follicle when it ovulated ruptures, it goes into the fimbria, and that's called ovulation. That is something that we see with luteinizing hormone. That hormone increases and we see ovulation. So women that are trying to get pregnant will check for the LH surge, because we know that once that surge occurs, then ovulation is going to happen soon afterwards. All right. So once you ovulate, then you go into what's called the luteal phase, right? So let's go on with our form here. With the luteal phase, the actual follicle that has just released the most mature egg then turns into the corpus luteum, right? And this corpus luteum gives off what we know as progesterone, right? So that progesterone, which is made from the corpus luteum, and that happens if it's fertilized, it gives you progesterone, and that progesterone stabilizes the uterine lining, right? So if you don't get pregnant, if you do get pregnant rather, your body is producing the hormone, human chorionic gonadotropin, that's the pregnancy hormone, and that is going to work to help that corpus luteal cyst to maintain the progesterone that's needed to keep that lining in place so that can help that fertilized egg. But if you're not pregnant, and there's no need for that lining to be there, the corpus luteum kind of shrinks on its own, the progesterone drops, all the hormone levels drops, and that's where we're, again, moving back into that menstrual cycle, okay? So the luteal phase, which is the back part of this menstrual cycle, happens right after you ovulate, right? And basically, you have hormones that are in place that are all kind of waiting for that egg to implant into that lining that has been fertilized by sperm. If it does not, if fertilization does not occur and it's just the egg and that's it, then those hormones kind of drop. And that's when we move into the menstrual cycle, which is the beginning of your beginning of your cycle again. So you have, again, follicular phase, day one in your cycle. The end of the follicular phase is when you ovulate, and then ovulation occurs for the next 12 to 17 days. If it's not fertilized during that time, then you go right back into day one, which is a follicular phase of your cycle. So you have the follicular phase, you have your luteal phase, you have things that happen in the midst of that. And this happens every month, and it's all kind of done starting with the hypothalamus and the pituitary giving off hormones. Your ovaries respond and make estrogen. The estrogen helps the egg to mature. The estrogen helps the uterine lining to thicken. Once that egg ovulates, the area that it has ovulated from is the corpus luteum. It also gives us a hormone called progesterone. If that ovary is not fertilized with sperm, then those hormones all drop, and that's when you have your period. All right. So a lot of ladies will notice that depending on where you are with your cycle, depending on what hormones are going, the vaginal discharge that you have will be different where you're at. So let's say you're close to when you're gonna ovulate, right? That the vaginal discharge that you have will actually be a little thinner, because we know that you're going to ovulate and we want the sperm to be able to get to that ovary. So your vaginal discharge is still going to be clear, but it'll be a little thinner and runnier than what you had before, because we want to make the body is making it easier for that sperm to get to where it needs to go. And then afterwards, we know that once you ovulate, let's say the body has assumed that that egg has already ovulated and it's where it's supposed to be, and it assumes that the sperm is already there, then it actually thickens a little bit, because the body wants only one sperm. That's kind of how it feels. We don't want more than one sperm to fertilize the egg, so that your vaginal discharge is actually going to be thicker after you ovulate. All right, so those are things to kind of pay attention to and to help you know where you are with your menstrual cycle without necessarily having to go and get a lab test and say, okay, this hormone is here and this hormone is there. You can tell that just from what your body is showing itself. So that's pretty much it, guys. That is basically the menstrual cycle. And if you want to have this kind of pamphlet that'll go through it a little bit more, just either go into drdawnobgyn.com /Clever Girl Crew or drdawnobgyn.com /Clever Girl 5-Day. Either way, you'll be able to get this pamphlet that goes through what I just talked to you about. And if you have any questions, you can follow me into the Clever Girl Crew. I renamed it to the Courageous Clever Girl Creators. And I'm going to go there right after here, and I'll just be available if anybody has questions. So let's see. It looks like we had a couple of comments. That's my cousin there. Hey, Dr. Jerisa, thanks for joining. And there is my lovely cousin that has shown, and it's not telling me which of my cousins, but I'm going to make an assumption. I won't say who I think it is. But I want to thank you all for joining me. And I want you all to join me again tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to start and we're going to talk about healthy self-esteem. Again, I talked to you guys and I told you when I started this, I've been doing this for over 15 years. I've seen a lot of young girls. I've seen girls in my office that are pregnant, that are not pregnant, that are in asking questions. And what I firmly believe is that once a girl is truly confident and happy and satisfied with herself, she herself will make better decisions when it comes to her sexuality and what she's going to do and what she's going to participate. And it's not just her sexuality, it's about how she's going to do in school, the friends she's going to pick, how she's going to be influenced. All that is really dependent on how this young girl feels about herself. And we as women and men, we have to pour into our young girls and help them to feel better about themselves. It's a lot of mixed messages that are being sent from society at large. They have social media, they're looking at TV, and a lot of things are telling them different things about them, and they're not always positive. So it's going to be our responsibility to make sure that we're nurturing our girls so that they know that they have a right to make decisions that are good for them and not fall into the influence of other people, not fall under the influence of whoever their romantic partner is. These girls are going to have a firm grasp of themselves and know from day one to learn how to make decisions that are best for them for then that period of time and for the long period of time. So we're going to talk tomorrow in this group about techniques we can use to help nurture our girls, because that's just as important as them knowing about their menstrual cycle. They also have to know that they're important and that they matter in our lives. So join me tomorrow. I'm going to be there tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday, 6:00 here on Facebook Live on the Dr. Dawn page. And if you still have questions, you have it. I thought it was Cousin Simone. I didn't want to say the wrong cousin, but I knew it was Cousin Simone. Hey, Cousin Simone. But join me today. We're going to talk about the menstrual cycle if you have any questions. And then we'll join me back tomorrow at 6:00, same time. And we'll be talking about self-esteem for our young girls. Thank you for joining, and we'll chat.